Kong on my head like he did to Frank. I hope he tries to stand with me, that'd be great. I'd love it. We put this one. This is the final nail in the coffin. As far as he's concerned, I don't think he took Brock as seriously or thought Brock was going to be a real problem for him, but Heath Herring on the other side wasn't a bad grappler himself. So I think he was fairly confident in his ability, especially going against a rookie like Brock Lesnar. This fight did not go Heath Herring's way whatsoever, and I'm quite sure he realized how strong Brock was once he got in there. Brock was able to keep him on the ground and do a lot of damage controlling him. He gave Heath Herring a nice shiny 2 on his eye. Heath had nothing for Brock in this fight, but I think the threat of the takedown from Brock had him shook to the point where he didn't let loose like he should have standing up. Brock was able to neutralize him and win the fight. There were a few moments where Heath Herring tagged Brock Lesnar, but Brock was able to take the shots. This fight did not end by a split decision because it wasn't close at all. Brock won by unanimous decision. There was no argument about who the better fighter was that night. It was clearly Brock Lesnar. After that fight, Heath Herring officially retired. He did not return to MMA until 8 years later. I think losing to Brock Lesnar, a guy who was super green with only 3 fights to his name, felt embarrassing for him and was probably a major letdown. But the truth is, Brock Lesnar was a legit collegiate wrestler, and Brock did what he knew. To Frank Mir, Brock Lesnar went on to found Death Clutch Gym with Marty Morgan, Greg Nelson, Cole Conrad, and a few other guys, where they primarily trained heavyweights. That gym actually produced some pretty decent fighters who trained there, guys like Pat Barry and John Madsen. This right here shows that Brock was willing to dedicate his time and money, investing in a gym to get himself better, and bring in guys who could help him and elevate him to the next level in this sport. Obviously, he had the wrestling background to back it up, but this is mixed martial arts, and it takes much more than just being a great wrestler. Brock realized that and created his own gym. Number 4. Now this is a big one. A lot of people forget this, but Brock Lesnar retired a UFC veteran after beating him. Who am I talking about? Heath Herring. Heath Herring was an experienced veteran who fought in Pride, fought in the big shows, had been all around the world, and was fighting in the UFC. He was actually coming off a win against Cheikh Kongo. He stepped up to the call at UFC 87 to take on Brock Lesnar. Watching the promo and seeing him respond to fighting Brock Lesnar, he was confident. When Brock was telling him exactly what he was going to do, Herring responded, saying he wasn't the first wrestler he had fought. He had fought bigger wrestlers, stronger wrestlers, more accomplished wrestlers. It wasn't his first rodeo. Brock wasn't going to bring anything he hadn't seen, experienced, or handled before. He knew Brock was going to come across the ring like a maniac, try to take him down, and try to do damage. Welcome back to Side MMA, guys. I'm going to give you 6 reasons why Brock Lesnar deserves respect for his MMA career. Let's jump straight into it. Starting off at number 6, Brock Lesnar jumped straight into the deep end. He didn't ask Dana White for a warm-up fight. He didn't ask for a low-ranked heavyweight. He told Dana he wanted a contender. He wanted someone in the top 10. So Dana gave him Frank Mir. Frank Mir was a handful for anybody at this time. A high-level black belt in jiu-jitsu and solid boxing. That alone should be respected. To ask for a top contender right away is just ridiculous. Come fight night against Frank Mir, Brock didn't start off too bad. He immediately put Frank on his back and started raining down short hammer shots, clearly doing damage. With Brock's background in amateur wrestling, this was his specialty. But that was also Frank Mir's favorite place to be. A high-level black belt, a crafty veteran. During a scramble, he caught Brock's leg, locked in a knee bar, and forced him to tap. Even in that short time on the ground, everyone could see Brock's size, and wrestling ability could do real damage at heavyweight. Despite the loss, Brock earned respect just for stepping into the octagon like he did. After the fight, most people thought he would walk away, but that's not who Brock Lesnar is. Reason number 5. Brock Lesnar took this sport very seriously after his loss. Velasquez absolutely showed that regardless of how big Brock Lesnar was, it all came down to skill. But in my opinion, Brock Lesnar deserves all the respect in the world from the MMA community. Although his MMA career was short-lived, he made a huge impact with everything he did. A lot of people like to criticize Brock Lesnar for not liking to get punched in the face, and that criticism comes from fights where he would get hit and sometimes back away. It happened in the Cain Velasquez fight, and even in the Shane Carwin fight, which he won. Shane Carwin came very close to finishing Brock Lesnar in the first round, but I believe he tired himself out. Brock came back in the second round and actually submitted Shane Carwin with a triangle choke, which nobody saw coming. That fight almost made the cut because Brock surviving Shane Carwin's punches was impressive. At that time, anyone Carwin touched with one shot was going out. He was putting people to sleep. Shane Carwin was also what you would call a super heavyweight. He was a big guy with 5XL gloves, which was absolutely insane. But looking back at Brock Lesnar's career, he deserves all the respect in the world, especially for someone as inexperienced as he was. To step into this sport with only a collegiate wrestling background and become a UFC Heavyweight Champion 4 fights in is absolutely ridiculous. But you guys let me know what you think down in the comments below. At the time, he was 3-1 when he took on Randy Couture. This fight actually took place prior to UFC 100, about a year before. If you looked at this fight, it almost seemed like a light heavyweight versus a heavyweight. That's how much bigger Brock Lesnar was compared to Randy Couture. Going into this fight, Brock Lesnar was the betting favorite simply because of the massive size difference and the fact that Randy Couture was the much older fighter. Now, Randy Couture was also a great wrestler, but Brock Lesnar was not only younger, he was much bigger. The odds were against Randy Couture from the start, but I have to give Randy Couture credit. He actually did pretty well. Every time he and Brock locked up, Brock didn't ragdoll him. When they got tied up, Randy Couture held his own and landed some solid dirty boxing in the clinch. But again, when you have a guy the size of Brock Lesnar pressing against you, it's going to wear you down. That's a lot of weight to try to handle. In the second round, Brock Lesnar landed a glancing shot that dropped Randy Couture. He followed up with those lunchbox-sized fists from hell and finished him off with a TKO. The fact that Brock Lesnar was able to win the heavyweight title that early in his career was impressive regardless of the size difference. A lot of people made a big deal about it, and it's true. Being that big has its advantages. But as we saw, Brock Lesnar was very beatable. Frank Mir beat him, and he also lost to Cain. This time around, he took Frank Mir down, smothered him, and landed those big hammer fists, absolutely mauling him. This was a pretty bad beating. Props to Frank Mir because in the second round, he actually hurt Brock Lesnar with a few shots. Brock had him against the cage, and Frank Mir pulled down with a Thai plum and landed a beautiful knee to Brock's face. You could tell it actually hurt Brock Lesnar, but of course, being the beast that he was able to recover. My God, he just started pummeling Frank Mir. Another big part of this was Frank Mir realizing how exhausting it is to carry someone Brock Lesnar's size. You have to remember, Brock was one of the first super heavyweights in the division. He was 265 pounds, while Frank Mir was around 239 or 240, so he was much smaller. Brock Lesnar trapped Frank Mir against the cage. Frank had him in half guard, but Brock kept him pinned and just started raining down punches until Herb Dean stepped in and stopped the fight. After the fight, Brock Lesnar got in Frank Mir's face. He definitely made a big statement that night and earned a lot of respect for avenging that loss. A lot of fighters don't get the chance to avenge their losses, and sometimes the other guy just has their number. Now we're finally at number 1. The number 1 reason Brock Lesnar deserves the respect of the MMA community. You probably guessed it. He won the heavyweight championship. He won the title with only 4 total fights. He took Heath Herring down to the ground and beat him up. Number 3. In November of 2009, Brock Lesnar was diagnosed with diverticulitis, a very serious GI issue that requires major surgery. If you know anything about that disease, it can lead to death if not treated. The reason this makes number 3 on the list is because after suffering from this disease and healing up, Brock Lesnar came back. He returned to the UFC and didn't just get a warm-up fight. A lot of people thought he was crazy for coming back after such a serious surgery. But once again, in 2011, Brock was hit with diverticulitis. In December of 2011, he had a foot of his colon removed